here, they're going to go to school here. In a weird way, it's a source of pride. Everybody asks, and I say, I can't leave. I have to stay. It's not up to me. You just sort of woven into the local culture. You're part of it, not just passing through.
I think right now it truly is a game changer. I think you're seeing so many exciting things happen, especially in the business community and the entrepreneurial community. I think technology is playing a huge part of what we do and how we're moving forward. I'm proud of being a part of a lot of the things that are happening with startups and companies that are literally starting things on a shoestring. And if you can get them a couple parking spaces in front of their business, or you can help them with the business license process. I think innovation and technology and arts are extremely important in our city. I think it keeps us relevant. It keeps people energized. I truly believe that those things are going to be what set us apart from other cities. My name is Hillary Sheevy, and I represent the at-large position.
Are you studying tonight? We can meet up and study together.
Text me after.
Okay. No!
There is no text, tweet, or call that's worth a life.
One pedestrian death is one too many.
Look up.
And look out for each other.
To me, the small town atmosphere is working within our geography and realizing where we as a city invest our public services, where we want to send those, or our infrastructure to maintain that small town atmosphere. I think every generation is looking for the new place. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to be a young person, graduate from college, and move to Brooklyn or the Mission. So I do think there's, particularly as American cities get more expensive, their cost of living increases, there are cities that will pop up. I think we are a city that will pop up because of our geographic location, but we really need to work on some things. This will be a council that will work on basics: graffiti, loitering downtown, getting a parking system that works. Those are sort of basics. They're not rock star jewel projects. It's really core competencies, but those are the ingredients that add up to a successful city. Jenny Breckus, I'm the Reno City Council member representing Ward 1.
Doing things in a divided manner is one, it's not efficient. And two, as we've seen with the Smarter Cities study, it's not what's going to be what is presented to the rest of the United States or the rest of the world. We need to come up with a regional image. And the only way we're going to get there is if we do things together. You know, the Big United, Little Divided, I think the campaign for the biggest little city is a wonderful one. And it really was one of those things when it was presented to the City Council. A few times in life do you get that feeling that this is important, this feels right, this feels big. And that's what my reaction certainly was to it, and that's why I got a standing ovation. And out of that, I felt like, what can we as governments, how can we promote this campaign, as well as maybe do some other things, mending some relationships and moving forward together. And so I did have 30 t-shirts printed up that said Big United, Little Divided. And I took them to the joint meeting with Washoe County and Sparks, not knowing if everybody would put them on, but having faith and hope that they would, and they did. And to me, while it was t-shirts and might be a small gesture, it appeared to set a tone of unity. And that was incredibly important. And I think continuing down that path, while we may not agree on all things, we can certainly be respectful. And the things we can agree on, let's move forward together. My name is Neoma Jordan, and I represent Reno City Council in Ward 5.
I'm very humbled to know that I'm a voice for the community, but with a job. You know, our job is to make sure that safety is a priority to the community, that people feel safe when they go to bed at night, when they wake up, when they go to work. Our priorities are to make sure that our parks are up and going, or to make sure that there's an equality of life in the community that allows for people to want to come in and invest. Our job is to make sure to make it easy for businesses to be successful, in the sense of making sure that we have an environment for them to do that. So it's multifaceted, but in more cases than not, we're support leg for a lot of people to make sure that they're able to do what they need to on a day-to-day basis. My name is Oscar Delgado, and I represent Ward 3.
We're looking for neighborhood leaders, difference makers, visionaries, people that love their city and believe that collaboration creates positive change. Are you a neighborhood leader who asks yourself, how can I improve my city? Are you interested in development, public safety, or reducing blight? Then join a neighborhood advisory board and help us make an impact. Visit reno.gov/NAB and engage with your neighborhood advisory board. Together, we can build better neighborhoods.
Students at Roger Corbett Elementary School get to know real-life heroes through a Reno Fire Department mentoring program.
Recess, we started to play, but one chose to act like a bully that day. His words were hurtful. His temper was flaring. I knew I would have to say something quite daring.
Firefighter Jason Eastman put his firefighting expertise aside to read a book on how to stop bullying.
Stand tall, speak up, and make your voice heard. I remember how cool it was to have firefighters and police officers and all the other people visit when I was a kid, so it's just a way to give back.
Other times the firefighters hang out and talk about homework or sports with the kids.
These children have so little contact with individuals outside of their immediate family and their school, and this presents to them role models as well as people who care about reading.
It's just helpful for those kids and to make goals for themselves. They can see these people that have gone through college and all of this training to be a firefighter.
Once the students got past questions like, how tall are you, Jason? What size shoe do you wear? They questioned him about his job as a firefighter.
We're looked up to nationwide and worldwide, just firefighters and police in general. Kids always have a respect for it, and the hero idea. So it's kind of using that to encourage them to better themselves and improve themselves. I guess in a sense, show them what they can become if they work hard and stay in school, that kind of thing.
The Reno Fire Department partners with the Education Alliance of Washoe County's Partners in Education program in their efforts to help children succeed. To find out more information about the Reno City Fire Department, go to reno.gov/fire.
Specific evidence that we have related to not only, this city, but generally throughout the U.S., those other studies that we're relying on in our proposed regulations. So that includes land use reports, crime impact reports, judicial opinions, expert reports, and anecdotal data. And yes, anecdotal data does include, what you would consider someone's just public comments and thoughts and observations. But that is one of many other factors that will be looked at. And locally, I will just say, like I said, testimonial evidence, and also more recently, we have had evidence of shots being fired at an adult business here. But I wouldn't say, that's not the only thing we're pointing to, but it is, a significant factor and just happened to be something that's recently come up to the city's attention. I'll mention kind of as another side, as a local, secondary effect. More recently, the city of Reno did something called Reimagine Reno, where the public provided input and kind of filled out a survey about what they thought about the city, what they'd like to see changed about the city. And one of the really big things that came out of that survey was, we'd like to see a downtown that's family friendly, that is cleaned up, and that I feel safe in. Now, it's not tied obviously directly to this, but I would just say generally that is something that happened recently that does support the general idea or policy implication of the general city citizenry wanting to use their downtown, and perhaps there's different things that the city is looking at to work on to clean up the downtown, and this being just one of the many. I'll also mention Urban Land Institute came in last year and provided a report to the city on how to improve its downtown. And again, one of the many factors that they highlighted was moving the locations of some of the adult businesses that are located in our downtown area as something that would revitalize and improve economic development in the downtown. And lastly, currently the city is working with a consulting group called Puma to create a business improvement district to also clean up and create a clean and safe downtown. These are all efforts that have just been started with this whole idea and initiative of, creating a more vibrant downtown. Lastly, I mentioned we went to council last year on April 27th, 2016. This is the specific direction we received last year, so everyone is aware. It's also my understanding, I wasn't here for it, but last year there was also a workshop that was held with the adult business stakeholders, and you guys were, or at that meeting, those who were there were made aware that the city was going forward with this initiative. And so at this meeting before City Council, there was a couple things that passed. Council gave staff direction to eliminate the use of alcohol at those adult businesses that are in non-conforming adult business locations, which I will allow Claudia to explain what a conforming location is and what a non-conforming and a conforming location is within a 2-year period of the adoption of an ordinance. And then we also, along that received direction to separate out the alcohol license from the adult interactive cabaret license. And that has been done and just recently went into effect. So those licenses, the fees did not go up, they just were separated out. So each adult interactive cabaret now, if they wish to serve alcohol, has an alcohol license separate from adult interactive cabaret license. And then last direction we received was to limit the exterior signs and displays at all adult businesses. And the impetus of this is essentially with the idea of the secondary effects related to minors. So currently where a lot of our adult businesses are, we have a lot of people of all ages that come, and that includes minors. And so the idea is we are not trying to limit all speech. Like I said, it's a First Amendment right to have speech and expression, so it's limited to exposing the activity that occurs inside of an adult business establishment that makes it an adult business establishment from being depicted on the outside on that sign for the purpose of preventing exposure to minors. Anything else on the sign would be permitted, therefore. And I hope that makes sense. I will turn it over to Claudia for now, and then Michael, and come back and wrap up the presentation.
Thank you. I'm Claudia Hansen. I'm the planning manager. I think most of you were here last year, and thank you for coming back for our second round of meetings. So currently, oh, that is really light, but currently we have 8 adult businesses in the city of Reno. 7 of the 8 are in non-conforming locations. So the Reno Key Club on Telegraph is the only conforming location. All other locations are in non-conforming areas. You can see on this where they are distributed throughout the city. So in industrial zoning districts is where Adult businesses are allowed outright. It doesn't need a special use permit. They can go in adult businesses as long as they meet certain spacing criteria. And that's spacing from residential zoning, gaming, schools, parks, and they are prohibited in the redevelopment districts. All 7 of the non-conforming locations are in the redevelopment districts in RDA 1 and 2. And that includes the retail stores as well. Okay, as Sean Denny mentioned, the 2 areas that council has directed us to look into further are signs and alcohol. So I will touch on signs. The city can regulate time, place, and manner of signs. Signs also fall under freedom of speech in the Constitution, but we can regulate time, place, and manner. So we are proposing to limit images of activities on signs which increase exposure of youth, causing the secondary effects. So staff proposes not to allow depictions of adult business activities from within the facility to be displayed on the exterior. This regulation is already in the code. The wording is a little odd, so we're cleaning this up. It's already in there, but it's just getting a little tighter, a little stricter in that area. And then we're also looking for proposing non-digital signs in non-conforming and the industrial zoning district. So industrial zoning districts already don't allow digital signs, so we're carrying that same sign regulation to the non-conforming locations as a proposal to City Council. Moving on to the alcohol proposals. Alcohol, unlike signs and freedom of expression, is not protected under the Constitution. I think we all know that alcohol typically does not promote good behavior. So we're seeing that alcohol consumption does further exacerbate the secondary effects. And to limit the secondary effects, the presence of alcohol, to eliminate presence of alcohol in areas where it would most impact surrounding community, which is the non-conforming locations. Sean Denny mentioned earlier the secondary effects, and that's really the focus of the entire proposal here, is the effect on the secondary effects, which are more likely to occur in the non-conforming locations. So the non-conforming locations are in our RDA area. They're close. Some cases are close to residential, on school routes. In our RDA area, we're trying to promote redevelopment, reinvestment in those areas. The industrial areas don't have the same surrounding community, and therefore secondary effects do not have the same impact. They're not typically around, they're not on school routes, there's typically not parks. So that spacing criteria is in place just to make sure that they're not in those areas. But typically in the industrial districts, you don't have the same surrounding community. You don't have the residential uses, the parks, the schools in those industrial districts. So the secondary effects would not be as great in those areas. And I believe this is time for Michael to cover titles 4, 5, and 8 in the business impact statement.
All right, thank you, Claudia. I don't know if I need to introduce myself. Someone brought some beautiful photos of me from a few years ago. So I am the Business Relations Manager, Michael Chomp, with the City of Reno. My responsibility is managing the Business License Division. Part of that is developing rules and regulations. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but also intake of license applications and enforcement of existing rules, laws, and ordinances that are on the books currently in Title 4 and 5. Those are the 2 titles that my area of responsibility is. So again, thank you for the photo. I did call my wife and let her know that she might see me on TV. She's probably not used to seeing that, but it's an old photo, so I think we're all good. So what we're looking at tonight is really, I know everyone's probably thinking, what the heck are we trying to do here? On Title 4, 5, and 8, you heard a little bit about what sections of code those are. On Title 4, that is primarily the business regulations. So that is the operating regulations that are in place that everybody in the City of Reno who operates a business has to operate under. Title 5 is our privileged licenses. Those are other activities, alcohol, adult interactive cabaret, vehicles for hire, pedicabs, all of those under Title V. In Title VIII, as was mentioned earlier, is pretty much the title that the police department, code enforcement use for the law enforcement side of enforcing. So what we are proposing at this point, and again, I appreciate everybody coming out, but what we're proposing specifically, I'm going to kind of give you the high level that we're really moving some regulations in Title VIII to Title V. We're creating a couple of new regulations in Title IV, and the two in Title IV, like I said, is that's basically operations of the business, and that affects the adult interactive cabaret performer, and that also affects adult bookstores and theaters. And what we have done is kind of added a couple of sections in there. I'm not going to go specifically into those sections, but what it really does is it adds that specific type of business activity, the rules that are associated with it, some clarity on what are the requirements. So if you're wondering, do I need a license or do I not need a license, these provide that clarity for our customers and our licensees to go through and look at that. And it also provides it provides suspension, it provides some clarity on denials, revocation, any type pending appeal. So we put that in there and made it a little clearer than it was in the past. Same thing with the adult bookstore. That, again, was classified as a general business. It is now being moved into Title IV. More clarity so everybody can understand what they're allowed, what they're not allowed to do. And it gives them some ability to understand and appeal. You know, if a license is denied, of course, there's an appeal process. In Title V, 505 is specifically the section of our general operating rules for privilege type activity. So those activities are the ones I mentioned earlier. What we have done is moved some of the work card requirements from Title VIII into Title V, added again more clarity in what the process is to apply for a work card, what the requirements are, what the appeal process is, what rights you have when you do apply. And again, it's just primarily for the clarity of just for the understanding of what is actually required. Another section of Title V is the Adult Interactive Cabaret. This is the section that regulates the actual business. So we moved approximately six sections from Title 8.21 over to 506. And again, we had a situation where we had rules in both sections. They were a little bit conflicting and confusing, so those got moved from Title VIII back into Title V. And again, with a very limited number, they're not new. They're existing regulations. The other section, which has been a big, I think, a topic of discussion, is in our alcohol beverages, Chapter 507. This regulates on-premise alcohol consumption. There were some changes in there as well. I think Sean Denis mentioned about splitting out an adult interactive cabaret. And if you have alcohol, you would have two separate licenses, one for the adult interactive cabaret business, the other one for on-premise alcohol consumption. So all the current adult interactive cabarets, there are 5. Those were all separated out as of July 1st. And then Chapter 510 deals with escorts, alcohol service. Again, this was cleanup, moving sections from Title VIII over to Title V, and primarily the Title VIII section is the section that is being repealed, if you will. It's being removed out of Title VIII and moved into Title V. The next slide talks really about the process, what we're going through, what's required. I got to go back. No, I got it. Business impact. I want to talk about the business, just about the process that we're going through. That's required. NRS requires the City of Reno, anytime we're making any changes to rules or adding new rules, we have to decide, we have to determine, not decide. We have to get the feedback from the audience. That's what we're looking for today. And we've had the business impact period open. We opened it at May 31st. It's open until June 30th. Anybody can make any comments that they so choose, how this would affect them in their particular business, in their jobs. So This process has been opened. It was, again, going to go through the end of June, June 30th. There will be other opportunities, which Sean Denise is going to talk about, other opportunities to comment on these codes. And once we get back to City Council, I think in August, we're going to give them a summary of what we've received back from the audience. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over, and Sean Denise, you're going to finish up, and then we're going to go to questions after that, correct? And again, thank you for the photo, I think.
Just a couple more slides. Sean Denise Sundall for the record, and hopefully we'll be done right around 7 o'clock. Michael went through the changes under Titles 4, 5, and 8, and I'm just going to go over the changes, summary of changes for Title 18. And here we just kind of have a little bit of a graph. So the green, colored, yes. The current kind of statutes, or as the current status of them stands, currently signs, as Claudia mentioned, we have a regulation to the content of signs. It's very vague, and I think it's poorly worded. Essentially, it's not enforced as it's currently drafted. So the proposal in yellow below it would be to specifically say that there can be no depictions related to those specific adult business related activities that define the business as an adult business from being displayed from the outside. And then also, as Claudia mentioned, no digital. And just as clarification, there's no there's no right to digital, and that's just generally whether you're an adult business or any business. Digital displays is not something that the court has looked at and said that there's a right to as a mode of speech. And so, as far as proposal of time in coming into compliance with this new proposed regulation of kind of clarifying the language of, one, no digital, that's not billboard either, it's just the on-premise sign as well here, I should clarify. So this does not affect off-premise signs in any way. This is essentially just on-premise signs that any adult business might have. They cannot be digital, and they cannot specifically depict what the adult activities are that occur inside. Beyond that, they're free to promote their business. So we're proposing a 6-month period upon which any signs would need to come into conformance with that law upon passage of an ordinance by council. Secondly, related to alcohol. Currently, alcohol is permitted in adult interactive cabarets as long as they, follow the adult regulations that are provided under the business license regulations. And currently, 7 of the 8, as Claudia mentioned, of the current adult businesses are in non-conforming locations. Just as a general fact, the proposal is to say that those adult businesses that are in non-conforming areas that are no longer, that are not in currently zoned industrial areas would not be permitted to have an alcohol license. And we're proposing that within a 6-month period. For location, currently almost 7 of the 8 adult businesses are in what is called RDA redevelopment areas 1 and 2. They're located more towards the downtown area. The proposed restriction would be to essentially have them go to the industrial zones where they're currently, if a new adult business came in and they applied for a license, they would have one by right as long as they met all the requirements in an industrial zoned area. So that would be what we would propose, that any current non-conforming adult businesses to conform, and that's proposed to be within a 2-year period. Next steps, this is kind of just a general outline. Obviously, we're towards the end of June here. We're meeting with stakeholders and adult business owners and real property owners tonight, right now, and that's also part of the business impact statement process that's required for Title 4, Title 5, and Title 8 changes, and that's required under statute. And then, excuse me, we also met with business and community groups. So we met with all 5 of the neighborhood advisory boards that recognize Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we also met with a RAD and the Chamber group. The Chamber recognizes business leaders within the community, and then RAD is like a regional area downtown group, or their mission is kind of, looking at, revitalizing and things to improve the downtown area. So now on to July. That would be kind of where we would take the input we received tonight, the input received from the NABs and the other community business groups, and try to do a final preparation of proposed revisions to code. So please, if during the comment period, please let us know what you think. And in August, we hope to go back to City Council and do a final presentation and final direction with options to council based on that feedback, based on the case law, based on the research, based on the secondary effects evidence. And at that same time, we hope that you will all be there as well to provide your commentary to council. And at that time, we hope to receive final direction from council. In September, we would go to Planning Commission for review and recommendation, which is required for any changes to Title 18. So only the Title 18 portion of the changes would go to Planning Commission in September. And then upon approval there, then we could go back to council with final revisions and approval of the Adult Business Code proposed revisions, which hopefully would occur in October, November for final adoption. The last slide I have, and I will open it up for questions and commentary, is our contact information as I promised. I don't have anything specific to add. Like I said, if you don't feel comfortable talking in a public setting, there are comment cards here, and you are more than welcome to reach out to us, and we can meet with you or talk to you over the phone or by email, or you can send an anonymous email or however you'd like to, or in a group setting, what you wish. I'm done, so I don't know if there's a specific slide. I guess I'll just leave it on the first one and say, open it up to questions. The mics are on.
Sure, yeah, so the mics are on at the front of each aisle here, we will take questions or comments. We do have some, this is being recorded, and then we will put this into notes, which will go into the record for City Council. So we will go one side to the other, and if you just want to line up behind those folks, then you will go next. What's that?
No, you can do either.
Or you can, white card is just written notes. If some people don't like public speaking, that's fine. There's a white sheet that Callie's got over there. You can fill that out if you just want written notes. If you want to speak, you can just come get in line, and then we will take you we'll just go back and forth from mic to mic, and everybody will have 2 minutes. So we'll start over here. And if you can state your name for the record, please, and speak clearly and into the mics. Thanks.
Kenny McPartland. A couple points. You said 7 of the 8 businesses are non-conforming.
Yes.
Did they not apply for business licenses when they were becoming businesses, when they were new?
Some of them were in industrial zoning districts many years ago, back when the railroad corridor was zoned industrial. It's no longer zoned industrial. The zoning was changed.
But they were conforming when they opened?
Most of them were at that time.
Well, they would have had to have been, or they wouldn't have been able to start.
Correct. Most of them were at that time. Yeah.
The second thing is secondary alcohol causes all the secondary issues. Is there a study for that?
There are many studies nationwide.
Is that going to be provided to us?
Well, yeah. Sean Denise Sendall, for the record. I wouldn't say, so again, I was saying alcohol doesn't cause all the secondary effects, and again, it's only
I'm not
one
saying
portion of
either,
that.
but
Okay.
That's part of what this is about.
The alcohol license.
Secondary effects of the alcohol.
Secondary effects are the secondary effects that I listed on this
Yeah,
slide.
I read it.
And so a secondary effect is not alcohol itself. All the slide says is that alcohol consumption
I didn't say that.
enhances
Alcohol is
secondary
causing the
effects.
secondary effects.
No, alcohol enhances the secondary effects.
Okay, semantics. So is that going to be on all businesses that serve alcohol? So you want to clean up downtown, so all the casinos?
So the case law only supports the secondary effects doctrine as it relates to adult businesses. And they're also referred to as sexually oriented businesses, but in that generally, the case law, that's adult bookstores, adult theaters, and adult interactive cabarets, strip clubs, those nature. I've not seen any case law supporting other types of businesses. It is specifically narrowly related to adult businesses.
But there is a report.
Yes.
Is that going to be provided to us?
That will be provided and presented to council in August and be part of the public record, and that will be
able to have copies of that?
Yes, it will be part of the public
We were told the same
record.
thing last year, and that was never provided.
I don't believe we ever went back to council after this group was last presented to.
We
We
were
have
told
not
last
actually been
year
back
that
to
the
council.
report for negative secondary effects would be provided to anybody who wanted it. It never
Right.
was.
Okay, well, I will, if you want to send me an email, and I will send you what we
My
have.
name's on the email list out there. You can send me one.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Kenny McPartland?
Okay, we'll go over here.
Yeah, my name is Jeremy. I also, with Mr. McPartland there, last year we were at this meeting and we were promised the report about secondary effects, which was not provided to us. So we're looking for that. Also, Is this the outreach workshop?
This is the adult business stakeholders workshop?
Is this the stakeholder outreach workshop?
Yes.
This is it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was expecting something different. And then you also said anecdotal data. Do we have we know we have a patron of the business that works here at the city, right? We've seen the signs. Now, he obviously has anecdotal data that we would accept as relevant because he's been in our clubs. But what are we accepting as the measure for anecdotal data? What is and isn't allowed? Because, Ms. Holland will have some anecdotal data that is not useful. I would have some anecdotal data that some people may not consider useful. His data is probably useful. What are we considering as useful anecdotal data?
Sean and Sundal, for the record, I don't want to gestulate to what, I don't know if there's a definition of anecdotal data, but you kind of hit it on the nail. Anecdotal data is things said by people based on their observations. And as I mentioned, there's many factors we're looking at, and that will be one of many factors. Like I said, judicial case law, evidence, crime reports.
Judicial case law, evidence, crime reports are not anecdotal data.
Correct.
Anecdotal data is story time.
Correct.
I'm surprised that we're going to allow that here, and
It is one of the many factors, sir.
Okay. The adverse secondary effects, and we've talked this thing to death. We still don't have a report on this. We can't say the university or the organization that provided the study for us. It's a key part of this. We've been talking about it for over a year. Where is this report? Who provided this data? And it better not be anecdotal.
No, I just want to point to the fact that right now that, we don't have to have a local study.
Okay, so there
we
has
don't
been
have
no
to.
study.
No, I said we don't have to have a local study.
Well, we'd like to have a study
rely
that
on
makes sense
secondary
for us.
effects.
Obviously, if it happened in, France, it's not Reno.
Correct.
We need something that's similar.
Yes.
Also,
Okay,
we've talked about.
We're going to limit it. We're going to go around so everybody gets 2 minutes if we have time
I'll
before
yield
the
to
end.
Anybody that wants the floor?
So, Tim, did you want to come up?
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll yield
Okay,
the
we'll
floor.
get back to you as soon as we make sure everybody else has spoken. Okay, sure, come on up.
My name is Daniel Glenn, and I just have a comment. I don't really have a question, if I may. Sure. So, I just want to honor all the ladies that are here. And I hear guys laughing, but I respect women. And I just wanted to say that. I've lived in Reno since the 70s. I've never left here for more than a month. I've been through a lot in this town. And, I really appreciate talk about the Constitution, because that's the greatest document ever written in the history of mankind, as far as I'm concerned. So I appreciate you interpreting it the way it was written, not with a slant. I think this is a step in the right direction. Some of us that grew up here weren't really appreciative of the way, I still hear talk about women, and they're just property. And I see them as a lot more than that. And those of you that, I understand people's livelihoods are at stake. I get it. But a lot of you are businessmen and smart and have other ventures and can make money doing other things. So I'm just casting a vision for you to maybe consider that. I've seen the negative effects firsthand. I had somebody detoxing off of meth at my house last week, which I don't do. My house is a place of peace and rest. But he is a direct family lineage of a long-term adult business in this town. His brother died tragically. So it's a lot more than just, if I want to start a multi-million-dollar company here and I have daughters and I want to see what kind of city I'm going to raise my daughters in, right? So I'm just planting seeds. I'm just sharing perhaps a different perspective. And I'm out of time. I wish I could speak more, but I thank you for your work, and that's it.
Hi, I'm Tim Carter. I property. Hello. Speak into it then. All right, Tim Carter. I own a bunch of property in Midtown. Is there, what I understand, there is a possibility that if this were to be approved, that the clubs would go from topless and above 21 to full nude and 18 and above. If that's true, I think the secondary effects would be much, much worse than
Tim, Sean, Denise, may I answer that? Kelly, could I get the Elmo real quick? Can you put me in focus? Oh, sorry. So the question was, may adult interactive cabaret strip clubs allow entrance of people? There's two questions there really is, can they allow entrance of those 18 and over if they don't have an alcohol license, if they can't serve alcohol? And the answer is yes. Yes, they can. So it would become 18 and over. Now, the second part of that question, sorry, I know that was a lot of, well, I guess once you get in focus and the paper should all fit in there. Great. There wasn't much on that slide. Maybe I didn't need a whole page for it. Second question there was, can a strip club and adult interactive cabaret be totally nude if they do not maintain an alcohol license? And so I just want to clarify this. The ability to display fully nude is not dependent on whether or not a place has an alcohol license. Just as equally as right now, we could allow, a city could allow an adult interactive cabaret, a strip club, to be fully nude and have alcohol. Like it says, cities may restrict level of nudity, and full nude is not an option currently proposed in what we're proposing now. My understanding is last year, when this workshop occurred, it was proposed that if there was no alcohol, then it could be full nude. As an example, I looked into Clark County's code, and Clark County's current code says they provide two options. An adult nightclub establishment in Clark County allows no alcohol, and they can be fully nude. Second option, if you're down in Clark County, is you can have an erotic dance establishment. They do allow alcohol, and they only allow semi-nudity. Now, I looked and looked and looked, and there is nothing that requires, nothing says we can't do this or follow Clark County's, what they've decided to do. But there's no state or federal law that says that we have to permit full nudity if there's no alcohol license. So if somebody has some evidence or statutory law or case law to tell me otherwise, please provide it to me. And like I said, we're not going to council until August. Be more than happy to sit down with anybody who has something that can show me otherwise. But that is the city's current understanding of the situation. And Mr. Tim, I didn't mean to cut off your time, if you'd like to finish speaking. Yep.
what part of the analysis is adjacent property values? Because that's really what I'm focused on, right? Especially from a secondary effect standpoint. Right? What is that carrying a lot of weight in the analysis? If we do this and that happens, then property values adjacent are going to suffer. Or please tell me that's part of it.
So I want to repeat your question, yeah, to make sure it's on the record. Tim stated or was asking the significance of the property values of those businesses surrounding an adult business location in the impacts or weighing of the secondary effects. Yes. That's your question, yes. As I mentioned before, I don't think actually I had on the slide, I just said it out loud. There are multiple factors when looking at secondary effects. And those factors include looking at crime data. Those factors include looking at judicial opinions. They include looking at land use reports, appraisal values, real estate reports. They also include looking at expert reports, and they also include anecdotal data. So those are 5 different factors, and you would kind of assess and hope that you would look at all of those, many of those factors as they applied to the regulations that, the city, and this is the city of Reno, is proposing. So that's where we stand on that. I hope that answered your question. So we will look at that, and that is something that's a factor.
Mark Thierman. First of all, we came here a year ago, 90%, 99% of the people didn't favor the ordinance. Nobody has shown up in the private meetings as far as we know of who's favored the ordinance. Everybody's against the ordinance except the city council or whoever's giving you directions. Second of all, I sent you a new 12-page letter with all the constitutional sites, and the Supreme Court says you can't stop people from being nude if you're not going to serve alcohol. It's First Amendment, just First Amendment, and only First Amendment principles involved, and you have no right to regulate the content of what goes on inside in terms of First Amendment. Same with the sign, by the way. You're going to be a dead loser on that one. We can advertise whatever we want as long as it's legal, so saith the cases. And, you know, we're buying a nice big lawsuit, but let's talk about something you haven't mentioned, the just compensation for the condemning of a perfectly lawful non-conforming use. We have a non-conforming use. It was grandfathered in. The non-conforming use was serving alcohol and adult entertainment. You can't split it in half, say we're only going to non-conformingly grandfather in the adult entertainment part. We can take the alcohol away because of what the content is that you're doing. I gave you the cases out of the Seventh Circuit saying you can't have an under-inclusive regulation under the First Amendment, and that's under-inclusive because if you can have alcohol mixed with nudity in Sparks or in Stead where you want to put these places, which is not a reasonable alternative, you can't say that they can't have it downtown. This is a establishment. These establishments have been here 20-something years. They've been here through thick and thin. They've been here creating jobs. They've been here paying taxes. They've been here putting people to work. What have you people been doing? You've been mucking up the Park Lane Mall, tearing down things and leaving it blank. You're going to tear down the Orchid and you're just going to leave it blank. We'll have some more shootings there. Your arguments about gunshot wounds is so fallacious and so stupid. 6 police reports of gunshots in the area. 1 never happened, they can't find casings. 3 happened in the street. And 2 were guys from a banker bar across the street who wanted to get into Orchid and wanted to get in Fantasy and we wouldn't let them in. And they fired a gun.
Okay,
That's
thank
our
you,
fault?
Mr. Thierman.
Thank you.
You can come back up, I'm sure.
Hi, my name is Will Turman. I've lived in Northern Nevada for my entire life. That's 31 years. My family owns units in Arlington Towers, so we're heavily invested in the downtown Reno area. I can name 7 different establishments that serve alcohol within 2 blocks of the Wild Orchid. I'm trying to figure out why we're even discussing secondary effects when Nevada apparently, and Reno in particular, has been welcoming of new bars, new restaurants. We've been playing up the entire, hey, come down, check out these new gastropubs and all this stuff. And we're talking about secondary effects of an establishment that charges, what, 4 times more per drink? I don't think that we're gonna see any reduction in secondary effects if we have so many bars around the area that apparently we celebrate. I do. I enjoy going out in Midtown, and the Wild Orchid has zero effect on me as a patron of Midtown Nevada and Reno, Nevada. I also disagree with the play. It seems like it's a play on morality. You could go back to the beginning of kind of the resurgence of Nevada's economy as a whole in 1930 when we legalized divorce and we put a 6-week requirement to live in the state, and people flocked to Nevada because it was I don't want to say amoral, but because we kind of had fewer laws, fewer regulations, and kind of left people to make their own decisions. We did that with gaming. We're not talking about the secondary effects of serving alcohol on a gaming floor. For whatever reason, we're just talking about it at an adult, what are we calling them now? Cabarets. So, I mean, to me, it's just as a Northern Nevadan, I feel heavily invested. I am completely on board with whatever business succeeds, especially they've been paying taxes in our community for 25 years. We talk about redevelopment districts. This city council had no problem granting Apple, who 1.5% tax break for investing in a redevelopment district. just to get around those taxes that these businesses have been paying for 20 plus years.
Yeah, sure. Real quickly, before we jump to the next presenter, I just want to quickly address a couple comments about secondary effects. I meant to after Mr. Thierman spoke. You know, I felt like I kind of touched on this a little bit during the presentation, but I'll touch on it again. The question of do local secondary effects evidence, you know, does it exist and does it support the ordinance? I already mentioned and I showed the case law that cities are able to refer to studies, case law ordinances, and other resources from other jurisdictions. So we don't need to rely on that as long as our regulations proposed are supported by evidence that has been found in other jurisdictions. We can't go beyond that. So if there's a case that says only like the land values in certain areas, we can't go do something different. You know, we can't just make up whatever we want. Can't just regulate and say you have to leave, you can't go anywhere, you can't even go in the industrial zoned areas. It is a First Amendment right, it is a freedom of expression, and we are not suggesting that. So I just want to reiterate that. And I know this is a big part, and these are your businesses, and so I understand your personal frustration you might feel with not agreeing with that, but you know, there is some local evidence as well. We have received, as Mr. Thierman mentioned, you know, nothing's been said since last year when the stakeholder meeting happened. We have received public comment from citizens, from business owners, and from, you know, like things such as EDON. Like I said, we went to RAD and the chamber, you know, and some have written letters and some have specifically, you know, emailed Claudia and I saying either I'm in support of this or these are my concerns, and all those letters and commentary will be part of the public record that goes before council. And I just implore you as well, if you have concerns, to please come or email and make that part of the public record. Anything submitted to us will be part of the public record presented to council. And I will make sure council is aware of your positions. To the gentleman who also just spoke, I think you left. And then thirdly, the pending order to show cause hearing regarding an adult business based on criminal activity occurring in the business premises. You know, multiple shots fired. That's currently something in progress, but we will have somebody from the Reno Police Department who will speak to that before council about those shots fired on the premises, which were, I think I wrote it here, multiple shots fired. I think there was 6 total. I think 5 within like a month and a half, 2-month period. And then last, local downtown initiatives, I already mentioned that, like Puma, ULI, and other initiatives have all kind of suggested to the city that having these adult businesses in the locations that they are deter economic growth and viability of the downtown. So I'll leave that up there, but go ahead, you may start.
Hi, my name is Jim DeArkland. I'm the managing member of the Freight House District LLC. We own 2.5 acres where the baseball stadium was built. We bought it in 2007. The city came to us in 2007 and requested us to sell it to them so a baseball stadium could be built. And they did buy that land, and what we bought from them, they sold to us, was the men's club property, the real estate. At that time, it was agreed that it was a non-conforming use, that the adult cabaret and the liquored use would be grandfathered and would be allowed indefinitely. So here I am. We made a bargain, contract, now you're breaching it. You're retrading me. I want my land back. I don't know how practical that is, so we'll probably end up suing you for tens of millions of dollars. Also, from what I understand, the men's club, there's been no secondary effects. So from what I see, this is a railroad job that the city council, I don't know who it is, but is trying to run this thing through, change the ordinances with no basis behind it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeArkland.
My name and my words for the record. Peggy Lear Bowen, citizen, came to this area in 1951. My mother dealt 21 for 38 years at Harold's Club. Have been to lots of things in this community over my lifetime. and taught for 35 years. And I'm a person of process. The process says you make rules and you follow them. And that at any given point in time, not based on whatever belief you might have about what you think is happening and how you personally like it or any group personally likes it, or what they want to do in creating a new district with a new image, is that you work within the process. Promises made, businesses that have been allowed to exist because our society and this group and this community allows it to exist, who've paid their fair share, who haven't broken the law, and take that multiple shots fired. You want the nugget shut down when the motorcyclist went crazy inside? No, you don't use shot fired. What you do is enforce laws that you've made and you, as a community, have agreed to have, and you don't close down businesses because personal tastes have changed or the direction you want the things and areas to go. If you want to encourage a business not to have a certain type of cabaret act, work with them to bring in some top entertainment again. If you want to have businesses continue to have their cabaret act, that is fine. If you're worried about sex trafficking, which is a big thing in our state, especially in our southern part of the state, enforce the laws. Don't allow them to go under. But don't make promises and make businesses feel like it's okay today, but in 10 years we're going to take it away from you and cause you financial harm. No, these people have helped our community stay alive. They've been there when the tourists didn't come, when the economic downbreak was there. They've been there being good citizens. They've even cooperated and made donations to our schools and done great things because we as a family do that. And you don't change the rules in the middle of the process because some group has a different concept. The people who elected those folks who might be trying to change the concept, put it on the ballot. Do whatever you need to do, but don't just make an arbitrary, we're going to change it, and people who have been good to our community, the Freight House District, the Wild Orchid. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peggy, very much. for
And my
comments
name and
that.
words are for the record.
Hi, Claudia. Thank you, Chandani. I had a couple questions. My name is Mark Ray. I'm an attorney and I represent FQ Men's Club, Inc. Mr. DeArkland, who just spoke a couple minutes ago, is our landlord. And I think a question that I would like to have answered, if you could, what is the impetus behind what we're here for tonight? I mean, what is the real reason why members of the city council want you to do this? It came from someone on the city council. What really did they ask? What really did they want to have done? What was their reason for wanting to change the law after all these years? Second, on the business impact statement, as I understand it, we have 8 more days, is that right, to complete a business impact statement and submit it to you?
We have till June 30th to get your comments about, so a business impact statement is a process.
Has anyone, to your knowledge, submitted a business impact statement?
So it's not a business impact statement, it's comments regarding the changes to Title 4, 5, and 8.
Has anyone
So,
submitted any of those?
Mr. Thierman submitted a letter regarding all the changes.
The only person who submitted anything for the business impact statement is Mr. Thierman from the Wild Orchid?
From my knowledge, I have not checked the email.
So
Michael, is
all
that
the other
correct?
businesses and people should put something into the business impact statement if they want.
They should submit comments that will be part of the business impact statement. Business impact statement will be presented to council via a staff report, from my understanding.
Wants to know, are you or anyone on the council planning to remove alcohol from the neighboring casinos that surround us at the men's club or from across the street at the Santa Fe Hotel where they serve pecan punch? You're going to stop them from serving alcohol because of the neighborhood? The second thing my client wants to know is, didn't you give us a lease, as Mr. DeArkland said 15 years ago, a lease allowing us to have alcohol and to have our business there? And isn't it a breach of contract, seriously, for us not to be able to continue our business there as you promised you would in the contract? So these are the questions we have, but could you answer the question about the real impetus behind why we're here tonight?
Mr. Ray, I would just say, as I stated, and I don't know if it's back on. Oh, it is. I can elaborate as much as I can. I started working here in 2015, and one of the first projects I got was I was told Councilmember Jordan asked for initiative to look into the current locations, I think that's how it's written, existing locations and the current code regulations that we have for adult businesses. And so that's how it started.
That's it?
That's it, that's all.
Ask anything else like, and I also want to stop alcohol and I want them to go out of business. I mean, how did this come about then?
There were a few meetings that happened based on that direction. As I said, we looked at case law, we looked at secondary effects, we looked at adult business regulations, and at that time, looking at the regulations, I came across the secondary effects doctrine, and that was something I presented to council. Based on that presentation in April,
And then my question, who is the person?
this was the direction.
Who is the person or persons who are the impetus for this?
So council voted, I think unanimously, with this direction last year, to move forward with this direction. Yeah.
So council did initiate an amendment. It has staff to go and look at the ordinances, and they really asked what can we regulate. So about a year ago, we brought forward sort of a list of options for them, and the ones that we have brought forward are the ones that they selected for us to move forward on and do more research. And it was unanimously approved by City Council.
The impetus for this, the whole idea behind this started with 7 people at the same time telling you, we want to do this? Is that what happened? Or was it one person on the city council?
Mr. Ray, I already answered your question. We were given direction initially by one council member. We came back with more research. It was voted unanimously to move forward based on that direction that's right up behind me. That was the slide that was approved. There's a staff report. It's on the city's website. You can take a look at that. You can watch the video. You can watch the presentation Claudia and I and Michael gave to council at that time as well.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is William Mansell. I just wanted to bring up a few things from articles that you supplied me over email, which I'm appreciative for. One thing was that in one of the studies, all of these are studies that you're going to use for the city council. Is that my understanding?
Yes, those are studies that I've pulled and that I reviewed over the past year, and
Okay.
currently that I'm looking at to use specifically. I have not, said I'm going to use this page number and this quote, but
That's
yes.
fine. I just wanted to be clear on that. One of them said that when you move these kind of businesses into one area, the negative effects that you're concerned about, they amplify and they get much worse. So condensing them actually seems to be a really bad idea, according to a study.
Yes.
Additionally, Denver found during its own land use assessments that its industrial areas were poorly suited to actually containing these businesses because there wasn't a public infrastructure, no busing system, police presence was nearly non-existent, as they usually are in industrial areas, and any response time from police would be severely lagging compared to average city response times, which to me states that it creates an endangerment for any kind of patrons who want to go to these businesses if they should be made to relocate into these areas. I would like to state that I do think the Wild Orchid sign is light pollution. It's super bright, and I hate it at night. Walking down to Midtown, that's me personally, so I wish that sign could be dimmed and or redirected away from the rest of the businesses, but that's personal. I also have a lot of concerns about the work card application program. I think that requiring photos for individuals who work in adult interactive cabarets seems to be a little bit much, and a 5-year span between when they could have ever had a conviction for basically any crime before they can work at an adult interactive cabaret seems really harsh and unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, my name is Harry Parsons. I'm a CPA with Pangborn and Company. We've been in the same business or business location since 1959 in the middle of Midtown, right between the Wild Orchid and the adult bookstore. I think we've been in business there longer than any in the area. We don't have a problem with it. And I will say, the last time I was in the Wild Orchid, it was a casino, a non-smoking casino. And the last time I was in the adult bookstore, it was Hansel and Gretel Children's Store. So I do not patronize them, but I'm concerned about what's going on here. I've been in Reno all my life, and I grew up with the thing, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I can't see where this is broke. We've got, the Wild Orchid is a beautiful facility. It's well kept up, it's patrolled, it's a nice area. The adult bookstore, like I said, that was my aunt and uncle's clothing store, so I'm not thrilled about what it became, but it's not provided a problem for us in Midtown. I'm concerned that all of a sudden people have some idea that they think they can go back on their word. The other thing, not only if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is when you give your word, you keep it. And these people have had people give them their word that they could have those licenses, and all of a sudden, I agree with you, I don't know where this is coming from. But it's people all of a sudden going, gee, this is not a nice thing. What happens all of a sudden if I'm there and they say, you're a professional service in the middle of Midtown, and we don't think that should be there because we want retail stores, so we're going to do something with your business. I mean, it's pretty far-fetched, but it can happen the way you guys are handling this. This is, to me, it's crazy. Thanks.
For the record, Dave Jackson, I've had the pleasure of being in all of these nightclubs. Never been solicited, always like it there, lots of fun. So here's my deal. My dad told me a long time ago 3 things that you can count on: death, taxes, change. So we're here to talk about change. So you're talking about conforming. So an industrial area is more conforming than downtown Reno. How old do you have to be in a casino? How old do you have to be to drink? How old do you have to be in a school at 2800 Vassar Street, a high school just a few blocks from the, what's the one, the Key Club? Few blocks. There's a high school a few blocks from the Key Club. Did you know that? Did you know that?
There's spacing requirements.
No problem there? No problem there. Here's the thing. You're getting ready to conform. You've already got conforming businesses in Reno. We have bars in Reno. We have casinos in Reno. I can remember when the Prima Donna Club that was on Virginia Street had women in bathing suits. The gaming industry is about drinking, smoking, going to cabarets, I remember Topless. Are you guys kidding? The clubs are already in an area that conforms. Moving them to an industrial area makes sense. Please explain how that frigging works. Are you kidding me right now? That's just nuts. Okay, I could go on for hours. You talk about, well, the language is kind of odd. Do you know people invested big dollars in your odd language? Who's going to take responsibility for that odd language? You guys? Oh my God, this stuff, I'm stressed because I can't get it all out. I can't. In 2 minutes, I got 12 seconds. I could go on for hours. Think about what you're doing. Moving them out to an industrial area makes absolutely non-conforming sense.
So my name is Shelly Mason, and I have been a dancer for 6 years. I have always paid my taxes. I have always gotten licensed. I've always followed all your guys' rules, and now you're just going to change it. We are Little Vegas. We're the biggest little city, and now you're just going to take away our party. We're not allowed to go out and do the same things that we're allowed to do in any other part. I can go to Denny's and get liquor. Are you kidding me? And now you're going to be like, oh, you guys can show stuff, but you're not allowed to drink liquor. Sorry, you guys are not responsible enough to be able to drink liquor, but hey, you can see a full woman, right? That's okay. I don't think you guys are thinking about the other part as well. We have a lot, like hundreds and hundreds of girls that come to our state to get licensed. So that means $200 a girl for taxations, and then you have all your business license. Oh, and we are dancers, so we're forgetful. So you've got your fines on top of that. Now you're gonna have all of these girls abandon ship. They're not gonna be here anymore. They're not gonna come here. They're not going to spend our revenue in hotel rooms, in food, in gas, in all of these other aspects. It's not just dancing that you guys are affecting at this point. It's a huge, huge nightmare that is going to be a catastrophic moment when this happens. So I really hope you guys are thinking about this. Thank you.
Anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak yet? Want to speak?
Just briefly, my name is Melissa Hollins, and as Jeremy pointed out, I have anecdotal data. I do find it useful. I thought that should go on record. And I'm just in support of this. And I know there's not a lot of people from the community that has come to speak up today, but I've heard from so many people in the community that are in favor of this. They will be at the city council meeting when it is proposed at that place. I know this is more for the meeting that is directly impacting those in those place of businesses. But you will hear the other testimonies, you will hear the additional support from the community, but there is a whole collective other voice represented that's not here tonight. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
And I just want to add too, some people got cut off at the end. If again, remember, there's comment cards as well, and our contact information is on the sheet if you want to submit written comments and email and make that part of the record. If you don't want to come to council, just please make sure you do that too.
I apologize for being a little long-winded, but I did want to thank you guys for pointing out Neoma Jordan as patient zero for this whole rigmarole. So that's been a name we've been looking for a while, so we appreciate that. Also,
If I
to
can
the
jump in really quick. It was, so the way an agenda item moves
Well, I
forward
just
is
wanna
a
make a
council
comment before we
person.
run out of time.
We'll add time for
Okay.
you. Is a council person puts an item on the agenda, and then the entire council votes on it. So it
Yeah.
was a unanimous vote by all 7 council.
But we do appreciate how that started, so now we know where to point the dirty end of the stick. So, with that in mind, so when we talked about the signs, somebody mentioned brightness, dimness, whatever, and this also goes to the staff and anybody else who's here. You can call us at any time. We want to work with you guys. We want to work with the community. We want to work with the city. We're a good, friendly neighbor. If you don't like what the content on the sign, call me. Let me know. There's another manager right here. We'll bring it to the owners. We're not jerks.
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
But yeah, call us, reach out to us, anybody can, and we'll take these calls all day long. That goes for all the calls. We'll always want to help you out. There's businesses on there, and that right now there's almost no adult content. I mean, that's because you guys reached out to us. So call us and let us know what you want. We'll be good neighbors.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mark Thurman. And yeah, I also want to thank you for letting me know that the city actually gave you direction after the first meeting when we all gave our names and addresses and emails, and you didn't give us any notice of that. I also want to thank you. I also want to let you know that this whole, you
I'm
weren't
sorry,
here.
what do you mean, Mr. Thurman? After
A
you
year
gave us
ago,
our-
you said that the city told you to make sure that the liquor licenses were gone in 2 years. That was after our first meeting. That's when we all
No,
signed
that
up
was
for
in
this work.
April. I believe you guys met last July, right?
Yeah, we were on the list, and you didn't give us notice of it. Their city council's taking action. They're directing you what to do without notice to us. Look, we
That
already
was-
lost this once.
That was before. It was before.
A year ago, we gave you notice.
Right, and so the direction, this happened before,
Well, fine.
before last year's meeting. Just clarify. Go ahead,
You
go
didn't
ahead.
disclose it in the last year's meeting then. You were given direction to take away the liquor license.
I don't know about that.
Anyway, the second thing is, you know, this thing started with a lawsuit because your police department raided the Wild Orchid with 12 SWAT officers in the middle of the night wearing Kevlar and carrying shotguns, neo-Nazi style. This is a continuation of that vendetta, and it's just going to result in more and more lawsuits. Why isn't the city council doing something important instead of chewing on this bone over and over and over again? Why are they just bringing in more faces and more different people to cover up what is obviously a morality issue for them that doesn't belong in Reno? The government is not here to enforce the morality of adults.
Thank you.
My name and words for the record, Peggy Lear Bowen, and I didn't mind my manners. Thank you very much for holding this meeting tonight, and please don't take anything said personal to you. It is simply the community trying to express that for whatever reason, yes, you did research and you found different things to be true, but it seems that we as a community, both businesses and government, have agreed to not enforce the rules. As a teacher of 35 years, when I made a rule and then I gave a second chance. I taught my first job at the boys' school in Elko, and one of my students said, Miss Bowen, when I made a rule and one of the young men didn't follow it, he said, are you about to give him a second chance? And I said, well, it was my first year of teaching back in 1972. And I said, I was considering, I came here in 51, I was 13 months old. I'll be 68 this year. And he said, Miss Bowen, do you know what a second chance means to us? And I said, nope. And he said, if you give us a second chance, you didn't mean the rule in the first place, so don't make it. Enforce the rules as you mean them, and then they will carry on in your classroom and you'll be just fine. And I strongly recommend that you take the advice of a young man at the Nevada Youth Training Center, that if you make a law, regulation, or rule, that you enforce it, and that if you didn't mean it in the first place, don't make it, and for heaven's sakes, don't change it when everybody's agreed to follow with whatever precedent has been allowed. And that's not meant to you personally. Thank you very much for conducting this meeting in a civilized and wonderful manner. And please smile, because in other places, in other countries, they don't have meetings like this. They don't take the input of the community. And that everybody here, I hope, is thankful we live in a nation where we can come and give forth your opinion. And to the young lady who said there are a bunch of people who are not the business people, well, you're looking at one of the people who's a citizen of this community, not a business person, who enjoys the freedoms this country allows, including freedom to operate businesses with the rules such as permits and things like that, and not pushing anything other than maintaining the First Amendment, which includes freedom of religion, freedom of morality, and what this community has accepted and the rules they've established by which they make them. And the only reason for rules, laws, and regulations is to have a punishment in place in case somebody breaks them. And please remember that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tori Bazat. I have worked for the Cashmere's as a door girl, a cocktail waitress, and now I'm a dancer. I just want to voice my opinion on how I feel about how you guys are trying to have our club be 18 and over. How are we going to control an 18-year-old who comes in intoxicated into the strip club? Because they're going to drink and come into a strip club. That's why we have 21 and older. They're more responsible as a 21-year-old than an 18-year-old. So I'm not understanding how you think this is going to make it better. And I can guarantee you that half of the dancers, if not all, are not going to be okay with this at all. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable with having someone who is not, in my opinion, a mature adult to come into an entertainment and sit there and actually be able to control themselves. Because you're taking away the alcohol license, that doesn't mean that they can't go outside, drink, do whatever they want, and then come back inside. You know, that's how I feel about that.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Thorne. I've been bartending this town for 20 years in all kinds of establishments, and I just want to know what separates us from a casino, other bars, as far as secondary effects go, because I've seen the exact same secondary effects at every type of location.
I'm happy. Do you have more questions, or do you want me to?
I just want that answer. Why we are being singled out on this town?
Did you make the presentation earlier, Mr.?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. So there's case law that supports only specific types of regulations and the findings that there's something called secondary effects only for sexually oriented businesses or adult businesses. So that's not just strip clubs, it's adult bookstores, adult movie theaters.
Our casino's not adult businesses. When there's prostitution, there's gambling, there's drinking, there's no minors allowed. They have topless shows.
Right,
How
I
are they
can't.
separated from us?
They're regulated by the Gaming Control Board. I know that.
Yeah,
They're highly regulated in that regard. I used to be an auditor for Caesars,
So what's
but
to
I
prevent
can't
you,
tell
if this works, what's to prevent you from going after them next?
So again, I will say, and I know you missed it, and I don't want to repeat for the rest of the group, but I'm happy. There's a copy of our PowerPoint up front, but essentially the case law limits us. This secondary effects doesn't apply to a tattoo parlor or sexually oriented businesses. So adult bookstores, adult video stores, strip clubs, any sort of adult-related business. Yes.
Every bar is sexually oriented.
All right. Hi, my name is Shane. I've worked for the Cashmere's for years, and I just want to say that the Midtown businesses that I have gone and talked to and been a loyal patron for years are totally fine with us, have never had an issue with us, actually send us people all the time. I go in there almost every day, and they love us. They love that we send them down there. They send us people. We're all good. Everyone gets along. It's been a nice community forever. I don't see where there's an issue at all. But I do want to specify on the employees getting their work cards. What is the reasoning behind that? Like, why do we need to do that?
Shandi Sendell, for the record, the work card requirement already is in the code. We're essentially
For the employees.
for the employees.
Okay.
We're essentially refining the way it's written, and we moved it where it was in the code. I know Michael Chomp, if he's still here, maybe not, can talk to that more specifically. But essentially, if you look up front, there's the copies of what's changed. So what's being proposed that's new is underlined. What's being removed is striked out. And so you'll see that it's actually just being moved from Title 8 to Title 5, because Title 8 is more police criminal.
I've gotten that things are being moved, but no
Okay.
one was specifying on what the rules actually were.
What they were before.
Like what they were, or why we're now being required to pay $200 to get our license or our card.
I do have
we've got
some
an alcohol
information.
awareness card and stuff like that, but. Yeah.
So we have I have one general slide related to work cards, and I'm happy if this answers your question. If this doesn't, then I'll let someone with more expertise answer your question. Can adult interactive cabaret performers, be required to obtain a work card? So work cards are justified by goal of decreasing secondary effects. All employees of adult interactive cabarets are required to obtain a work card under code. Oh yeah, I added citations to the code. So under 505011, sub 8, it says all employees that work in an adult interactive cabaret are required to have a work card. And then now the proposed requirements actually have a separate section that's more narrow and is more specific and definite that applies specifically to the performers, and that's under 50501111.
Okay, so this is basically just being changed. All right.
So take a look at that, and if you have specific questions, you can provide us your comments. Did you want to add something to that?
Hi, Matthew Jensen, Deputy City Attorney. The first question regarding the work cards, they are presently applicable to performers or dancers in the current code. No, ma'am, all employees of the adult interactive cabarets in the current code.
Hi, my name's Greg Rock. I work at the men's club, and I'm also a volunteer football coach at Worcester High School. The Key Club, the conforming area, is 1.3 miles from our high school. If you actually go to the northwest corner of the school is the girls' softball field. It's actually 0.9 miles because the campus is big, so it's less than a mile if you go from there. So it just doesn't make sense. The conforming areas and all that stuff just kind of not making sense to me. Also, the studies that you guys said you did, first you said you didn't need to do them, but you did do them. Whether you needed to do them or not, you said you did. Is there any reason you guys didn't bring those tonight? Why not tonight? We're all here and we'd like.
So we did not conduct studies. There are studies that we're relying on. So there's studies that other cities have conducted. And for example, Mr. Mantle, who spoke earlier, had emailed me last week, so I sent him a couple of them.
Okay, but any reason that you didn't bring the ones that you're relying on here?
Right now. So tonight, my understanding was that this stakeholder meeting was to get input about the proposed revised regulations. So this is aimed at like specifically work card or location or alcohol removal. That's the purpose of this. And I mentioned all the studies will be presented to City Council in August, and that will become part of the record. And at that time, they will become accessible publicly, or unless you email me or you want them specifically to look at.
No, yeah, well, I think we all want them specifically to look at. A lot of attorneys and citizens, whatever, can't hurt. You did them, why not see them? So you're here to get our input about it, but just our input, but you still gave us a proposal and a PowerPoint presentation. So you gave us information, but not that information, just the information that you like to give us.
Well,
Does that make sense? Like, you
Mr.
took
Rob-
time to put this together.
Right, this is a PowerPoint presentation that was presented across to other groups as well, other community
I'm
groups.
just saying maybe that could have been brought to. Okay, as far as some of the secondary effects, I think I'm running out of time because we've been a little bit of talking both ways. But prostitution, I think if these clubs close, I think the prostitution could only go up. I think the alternative of dancing and stripping, whatever you want to call it, exotic dancing, is safer than prostitution. Potential spread of disease, I don't see how that happens if there's no. Can I have 30 more seconds?
Sure.
I don't see how that happens. I'm just looking at all of them. Exposure of minors to adult business. If the signs are taken care of, that's not even a possibility. Lewdness, public indecency. All these things happen inside a building. There's no windows, no one can see inside, so those are totally irrelevant. Litter. Walking over here from the men's club in front of this building, tons of cigarette butts, cups, this and that. As far as our club, very clean, well kept. Our valets sweep cigarettes, clean, spray, power wash. Sexual assault and exploitation possibly only goes up. More frustrated men in town, nowhere to go, have a fun time within the law. Now you get guys frustrated or whatever, or women working in a less safe environment, the streets, or a place like that. So, the shootings, like she said, the nuggets, they've happened at the schools, which is horrible. Parks, they happen. I don't know why it's just this. As far as a couple other things, Tesla coming to town, that was one of the city's most prideful moments. We were all excited about it. We have a lot of people from Tesla coming in, so I don't know if we're the reason they came, but they definitely don't have a problem with us. So I just see a lot of holes. I just see a lot of holes in all of this, and I'm hoping that you guys haven't already made up your mind and you're actually getting input from us so you can maybe reconsider. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dan. I've been a bartender for 20 years, off and on in Las Vegas and Reno, and this town is saturated with bars. I mean, it's go downtown. You're focusing on, you're focusing on Wild Orchid and places like that. Go downtown on any kind of given weekend. Go down by I don't want just Tonic and all those bars down there. There's cops and there's fights every Friday and Saturday night down there. So where are you going to start? I mean, what bar are you going to start at? As far as you have to take it all away, right? You can't just. I mean, sports bars. There's fights. I see girls and guys staggering down Arlington, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, coming out of bars downtown. So where is it going to start at? It has to start at every bar, right? If you're going to take away the liquor, you can't just go for the strip clubs.
Dan, were you here earlier for the presentation? Or
Yeah.
Not? Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, we can't do that. Well, first of all, alcohol is a privilege license. It's separate. Secondary effects doctrine relates to adult businesses. So those are kind of two different dichotomies there. But that's essentially what I've explained, and I'm happy to explain more. I don't know if you want to say more before your time's up.
Just briefly, I don't see the cops, all over the parking lots of the strip clubs like I do down at these local bars, like every single weekend. Fights every weekend in the alleyways over there between One Up and Tonic. So I think you should start there.
Thank you.
William Mansell again. Just a few more statements because I ran out of time last time. On review of those studies you sent me, it did say within one of those studies that there are very few studies that have examined these, and if there are, they aren't peer-reviewed or published. So I'm not sure how much weight we should be giving them because they aren't scientifically analyzed. Additionally, I believe that it's Portland, Oregon, with a population of about like 700,000, who has the highest per capita of strip clubs in the nation, something like 1 per 11,000 people, which is way, way higher than our 7 here in Reno. And if Portland, Oregon isn't on fire because of its secondary negative effects, I don't see why we are. Now, that might mean that we use Portland, Oregon's model for ourselves if there are issues. I'm not hearing a lot right now. That doesn't mean they don't exist. I'm not out on the streets every night or whatever. Just a thought there. Additionally, should these properties be made to move, what happens to those buildings? Do they become blight themselves? how are we going to ensure from the city's side that these places don't just become massive holes in otherwise contiguous marketplaces and commercial districts? I don't want to see the wild orchid just be left a bare husk. I want something to happen to that, and I don't have a problem with its business now, though. Thanks.
Thank you.
He's from Oregon. I heard an incident from a kid. His friend went into a strip club. He was underage. He was 16 years old. He was 16 years old.
Can you please tell us your name first, sir?
Frank Mills.
Was it Frank?
Mills, yeah. He was 16 years old. He took his friend. His friend took his ID into Oregon, one of the Oregon strip clubs, and he ended up at the wrong place because the guy said, "Well, we're gonna bring some girls over." Well, put drugs in him, smoked marijuana, some cocaine. When he noticed he had no clothes on in the morning, he was raped. And you ladies want to have nude strippers?
No, we do not, Mr. Belt.
And I'm going to tell you another thing. I was born and raised in this town. And I worked in the casinos for over 40 years. There's more incidents now. There's a cop got killed, got shot at the Sands. Down the street here, Calneva, a knifing, a shooting. Right down the street there, 12 times. Somebody got shot. And you talking about the strip clubs? They watch all this. They don't let nothing happen out there. And our kids, now you got a university full of 20,000 kids. You want them all drink and smoke weed. I finished.
My name and words for the record, Peggy Lear Bowen. And I thought of a question. You've been putting a lot of, you not personally, the group has been putting a lot of emphasis on these studies. And I want to know of the studies you studied, how many of them were conducted within the borders of the state of Nevada that live to Nevada standards? Because I haven't heard any, I've heard about other states that are, Nevada is battle-born. Nevada is the maverick of the United States. We were the last one to follow the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and we put in place a fuelish limit that said you could go up to 70, and if you went 71, it'd go all the way back to 55. But if you got caught going 69 during the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, you would be charged $10, not reported to your insurance company, for the paperwork it took to handle the court costs for handling the notation that you went 69 miles an hour. And we do things Nevada way. We don't do them Oregon way. We don't do them any other state way. And that's the independence of this state. And it always has been. The 36th state in the Union, 45 years to the day, became the 36th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment for the Constitution of the United States of America, but not for the Nevada State Constitution. We may get around to it someday that women aren't property, and they aren't. You gave licenses and permits. I'm not going to be repetitive. We think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You've heard that. And thank you very much for all that you do. And put this all together and put it to rest nicely as a study gone awry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed you put that up about you can do studies from other jurisdictions to kind of argue with what she was saying. But I did see that you put some up earlier about Clark County as it pertained to fully nude or not fully nude. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do think that Clark County or some of the things they're doing in Las Vegas are intelligent, reasonable? I mean, you looked into it to see, or you don't think they're reasonable?
I can't give it broad. I mean, I showed an example of where perhaps that idea, there was a rumor that we were proposing full nude. That
But
is
you looked into
not
Clark
true.
County to check because you thought, so if you thought they were unreasonable with all their lawmaking, all their codes, why did you use them as an example? Because I think they're reasonable, and I don't see them moving their clubs. So I'm just wondering why you use them. It seems like you guys are using certain things for your arguments as it pertains to what you wanted to say, but then when it goes into something else, it's irrelevant, it doesn't matter, and they have no intelligence. I just want to know what you think about that.
I looked at a ton of different codes, so I mean, I'll just leave it at that. I mean,
Okay. As far as another place where they've changed some of the laws with clubs, California, San Francisco, Sacramento, it seems like there's a lot of people moving to Nevada from California, especially over the last 10 years, maybe to get away from the overregulation, being told how much sugar to have in their soda, overtaxation, bad traffic. Other than the weather, it's not really a very nice place to live anymore, or at least a lot of people coming here have said that. I know they've also changed their clubs to do this, make it hard on the clubs to exist, put them in certain areas, limit their liquor, sales, things like that. Is this one of those things where we're just trying to turn it a little baby California? Because a lot of the people I think are moving here to get away from some of that, and then it seems like then we're just turning into what they ran away from, or do you have any on San Francisco? I know they have a club called the Gold Club, which I don't know the exact laws or how they get away with it, but I have seen a topless woman in that place and had a cocktail in my hand at the same time. That is the busiest, most popular club in San Francisco, and it's right next door to the W, very luxurious hotel, very popular. I don't think it damages the W, and I know a lot of the other clubs are just struggling, and crime and things are up.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Oh, here, let's get somebody who hasn't spoken yet, and then we'll get back to you.
I've got to go to work here pretty quick, so. I'm Jim Gass. I'm the manager of the men's club. I probably ran a club longer than anyone else in town right now. It's over 20 years. The principal thing that you're trying to do, I guess, is build up the downtown corridor and everything else. And I'm not speaking for the Wild Orchid, but I'm going to include this. They've remodeled. We've remodeled. You go outside our building, and our sidewalks are impeccable. Our valets go up. The cigarette butts, the bottles, they're all picked up. That sidewalk downtown, it's one of the cleanest in the city. I just got out of the car to come over here in front of your own building. Within 50 feet, I counted 6 bottles, cigarette butts, everything. So you want to borrow our valets, they can come over here and clean up in front of this building because we keep it very, very clean over there. Another thing is we've had the Award of Excellence. Actually, it's the Best of Excellence. I think we're the only business in Reno that's received that award. Isn't that the kind of business that you want in your downtown corridor? Of business that gets the Award of Excellence from Wine Spectator magazine, which is the Bible of people that read these magazines and find out which wine buy, the very wealthy people here in Reno. I think that's what you want. And I'm probably missing something, but right off the bat, when we opened this meeting, the word strippers was used. And we're constantly evolving in this business. We do, the Orchid does, and we're trying to give respect to our ladies. They're performers. Strippers is kind of archaic. 20 years ago, maybe when I got in business, we used that word. So give them a little respect. There's doctors, lawyers, future politicians, maybe a future city council member out there dancing. So they're performers. So give them a little respect. And that's about all I got to say because I got to go corrupt some more ladies when I leave here.
Thank you.
My name's Nolan Wolcott, and I'm actually really surprised there's not more people since it's hitting pocketbooks. Like, this is such a tiny percentage of what is our population and in our community showing up, and it's supposed to affect just the whole city if we shut this down, and it will, but it's not going to affect the people like in what we're hearing. Like a couple hundred people is nothing, 1,000 people is nothing, as far as jobs go, and as far as I work in a machine shop and seeing all the money that comes in from letting a company like Panasonic come in and Tesla come in, which is a legitimate good business, whereas this is just like it's had its heyday. Like, this is old. Like, this is the oldest profession in the world. Are we done with this? Or so I am super behind you guys all the way. And Melissa's right. There's a huge community. I mean, majority of, I think, in the community would say this is ridiculous. We still have this in Reno. Let's like make the city clean again, like, or whatever we got to do to push this away. Because also this idea that like this, we got to let you guys, you got to be downtown. Otherwise, we're like pushing you away out of like some First Amendment rights. Like, that has nothing to do with it. The idea that you're not allowed to put nude people on boards is a social construct anyways. And so if today society doesn't want that stuff downtown, then like too bad, like you just don't get to have it. Like businesses will have to change. If you're a legit business person, an entrepreneur, like you'll find another business if you are, which I don't think tits and booze is really that hard to market and make money at. Like, I don't know if you're a legit businessman doing that stuff, but do you guys? No, I hope you really do it. I hope you're the council that actually cleans our city legitimately, like really for a long term, that there's generations that get to like experience goodness after this. Instead of what my parents, we grew up and we just thought it was normal. It's not normal, and it's kind of sucky. So, support you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimmy.
Tammy Kashmir, Wild Orchid Fantasy Girl Spice House. He's a class act. He called them tits. That shows you the type of character that some of the people that are against us here tonight. I'm just here to say we're not going anywhere. So we'll fight this. We'll do whatever. We're not going anywhere. We changed the sign in the last year to conform, to make it nicer. All we're doing is advertising Midtown, and you guys are still here coming after us after we played nice. You're sitting here spewing your crap about the signs, and yet our sign is an billboard for Midtown, and you still are coming out here saying signs, because you got nothing. You have nothing. You're scraping right now, and everybody can see that. So I'm just telling you right now, we're going nowhere. Midtown, we were 10, 12 years before the term Midtown was ever coined. So if you're saying we're bringing down the area, but Midtown is your guys' baby, we were the reason why Midtown started. We brought people down at Midtown in the 90s when nobody was coming down at Midtown, that area. Everybody made fun of that area between downtown and Park Lane. And we brought people down there. And you're saying we're the problem? No, we are the answer. We are the reason why Midtown is there. So we're not going anywhere. We'll fight this.
Been doing that.
Jill Wolcott, I'm just a citizen. I just have a comment as well. I'm behind Melissa Holland and you guys 100%. And the reason I say that is you guys talk about how it will destroy your clubs. You'll be out of business. Well, you know what? I say good, because he's talking about how he's going to go, demean women. That's what you're doing. All of you men in here.
Alicia, please just try to be respectful too. So please just keep your comments. You can say what you
I'm
like.
sorry.
Just please be
I'm just
respectful.
Frustrated. My point is for the women mostly. You don't realize how precious you are and what your worth is. And I don't see how you can be so...
Okay, guys, just if you say what you'd like to say, and then...
I just want to say that I hope and pray that one day you wake up and realize that you are worth so much more than being paid for your body. That's all.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brianna Hayes, and I'm a dancer. I just want to say to the girl before me, before I became a dancer, I had no self-confidence. I had nothing. This job actually made me appreciate myself more. And I'm an entrepreneur. This is a temporary job. I'm going to school to be a nurse. UNR has one of the first nursing programs. You're gonna take away strip clubs. You're gonna take away my dream. I don't really want to go to Vegas or do any of that. And also another point, this has always been reiterated. You're gonna make strip clubs 18. Little boys are gonna come in there. As far as I'm concerned, most men aren't even mature by 30. Little 18-years are gonna come in there. They're the most disrespectful people in there.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Miriam, and I would like to say something.
What
The
was your
young
name?
lady that came up here to say that women are not precious and yada, yada, yada. Well, America obviously has the right for you to express yourself. And this is why I moved, fortunately, to this country from the Ukraine, which is a horrible country to live in, okay? So let us women do what we want and make our money and put ourselves through school the way we want to put ourselves through school and live, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Brittany Nelson, and I wanted to say, for this business that we're all in, if it wasn't for this business, I wouldn't have just finished Cosmo School and, paid for my schooling for this business. It doesn't make, being an exotic dancer doesn't make you a bad person, per se. It actually makes you a better person, teaches you that, you start from this small and you can go many miles for what you do. Being a dancer or an exotic dancer has nothing to do with being a bad woman or anything. So that's all.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Max Wolcott. I just want to say that I think we need to stop focusing on the fact that this has to do with self-worth right now, because the fact is it comes down to money, and it comes down to where your sway is in the city and how much money you're bringing in. Fact is, you guys are a female exotic club. I doubt there'd be much business if I decided to strip for you. I'm not one of those guys. But the thing is that there's no money in it. Now, this has to do with whether or not the city wants you here. And as being businessmen, if they do not want you here, you will not be here. All right? I don't like the LGBT. I don't like strip clubs. There's a lot of things I don't like, but they're here, and things change, and things move. So ultimately, as much as it may be a pain for your guys' business, you may end up moving. Now, there is a side to it that moving the strip clubs into an industrial area may make sense depending on how big our college is growing and how big Reno is being renovated. And there may not be a lot of parents that want to send their kids to a town that has a strip club within a couple of miles of it. As far as bars and stuff go, absolutely. There's going to be drinking, there's going to be partying. But I know there's a lot of mothers out there that's going, I don't want my daughter going there, I don't want my son going there. The amount of money that a student brings in at $40,000 a piece is a lot more than whatever your strip club is going to be bringing in as it grows. So this has nothing to do with a morality thing. In my circumstance, I'm looking at the city of Reno. Is this going to bring in and build up our city, and is it going to change it the way we'd like it to be? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jasmine, and I wanted to say that I come all the way.
Oops.
I come from Sacramento, California, just to dance out here. I'm short, so I can't reach the mic.
Just have her hold it.
Okay, so yeah, so I come all the way from Sacramento, California to dance out here because this is a topless bar. In Sacramento, there's fully nude, and it's very unsanitary because when you're on stage, you can have an accident, and then, the girl's not gonna say, oh, I had an accident, clean it up or whatever. So then it's just like passing germs and bacteria and things like that. And if we have liquor license and we be topless, and then, it'll just be more sanitary. It'll be an older crowd. It'll be a safer crowd. We'll have the bouncers and everybody we need. But when it's topless, when it's fully nude, then a lot of the people that work there can't work there anymore because they're not going to need them anymore. And then it's going to drop the whole value of this city down because we're all here for liquor, 24-hour liquor, right? Isn't that what Reno and Vegas is about, drinking all night long? That's why everybody comes out here. People come over here from all over the world. They come to Reno just because they want to see the strip clubs and the liquor and, just basically they just want to have a good time. And you guys are trying to take all the fun away, and it doesn't make any sense. So that's all I say.
Thank you. We got about 10 more minutes, so if anybody else would like to speak and say something, please do.
Hi, my name is Rosemary, and I just want to make a comment stating that I actually moved here from California, being a single mother. And I've been in the industry for almost 7 years now. I started at a fully nude club with no alcohol. The income was incredibly nothing. I moved here to provide for my child and get things going where they need to be going for my child and our life. And
putting food in her mouth and my mouth and rent and car payments and just getting everything done. And if you guys turn it basically into California, what are us parents going to do? What are we going to do?
So Rosemary, just real quick, just because it's come up a couple times, I didn't want to talk more about it, but we are not proposing full nude, even if alcohol's gone. We aren't
But I
required to
understand,
happen.
even if
Okay.
it is only topless,
So,
okay,
go ahead.
even if it is only topless with no alcohol, you know what I mean? Who's going to want to, huh?
Can we just let her finish her time?
Go ahead. Finish your time.
I mean, if there's no alcohol in the club, then everyone else, they're just going to go look for girls elsewhere. I can't tell you how many guys I've had say, oh, well, I could just go to the bar and hang out with a chick for free. You know what I mean? Guys come in and they pay for company. They pay for someone to hug them and talk to and be around. So what are we going to do if there's no alcohol? I mean, me personally, I've been sober for almost 2 years. But as far as it being a business, where would it go? I just want to know.
Okay, I'm just gonna say my name's Big Mike. How many people out here know me? It's Big Mike. Okay, I'd say almost half of people here know me. Okay, I started with the Kashmiris knowing nothing to little. Okay, they took me under the wing. I started off from a floor man to a doorman to now a full-time bartender to now the lead of the bartender. Okay, some people here say there's no money to be made in this club. I disagree with that highly. I am a father of 2 daughters. Okay, one is behind. She's 5 years old. She acts like she's 2.5, maybe 3. Okay, Kenny's took me under his wing. Jeremy's taken me under his wing. Cammy's had good things to say about me. I know Frank's had good things to say about the club and people. Now, for you guys out there that are not with us and you're against us, that's fine. Everyone has a right to their opinion, okay? But you're taking alcohol away from us, that's fine. Okay, we might stay topless. We might become fully nude. A lot of girls, I'll tell you right now, are not going to be comfortable if we do become fully nude. We'll get off that subject. But you take alcohol away from us, there's still going to be alcohol drinking in the parking lots, around the buildings, a lot of stuff. What's going to happen with no alcohol? We're going to have 18 and up. Okay, I was 18 once. A lot of people here were 18 once. Did we listen to anybody at that time? No. Old enough to know better, to young enough to care. That's the motto when you're 18, okay? Gun shootings and stuff like that, I've been with the Kashmiris for almost 4 years. Not once has there been a shooting in front of any of our clubs in that time. Down the street, around the corner, we just had a stabbing and a shooting. What was it, Vinny? Last week we just saw that, Ken? There was a shooting, 1 person dead, 2 others. Was that around our clubs? Nope. Thank you. Okay? So what is this meeting getting down to? Alcohol and our livelihoods? If that's the case, we're getting nowhere. We've already taken the horse, we've beaten him, and he's already off to the glue factory. Let's get over it.
Hi, I'm Nicole Archibek, and my focal point is going to be 18 and up. I believe that it's not safe at all, honestly. I think that it's pretty stupid. If you think about the generation statistic-wise, and certain specific age groups and how things are going right now, just as a whole in the world, that's stupid. You're dumb. You're going to put 18-year-olds in a club with fully nude women or nude women at all when they can't handle themselves. Everything that's being promoted right now in this generation to the younger generation is pretty foul. And to then allow them to be coming into these clubs isn't going to be something that's going to turn out well for you guys, to be honest. And you guys want to talk about cleaning up downtown. So yeah, let's throw in some drunk 18-year-olds into the casino area and around the 21-year-olds. That's real safe and real smart. Are you going to be able to tell the difference between who's 18 and who's 21 at that point? And what's going to happen when these 18-year-olds go running amok through these clubs or through these casinos due to the fact that you are wanting them and putting them in these specific places now. You're giving them the chance to have that opportunity.
I'm still kind of on the conformity kick, but so much to say. You know, we talk about change and we talk about how, you know, for example, the Atlantis bought property from a ranch owner. It goes on, change occurs. When you talk about conforming and you've already got bars and adult entertainment downtown, moving it to an industrial area doesn't make sense. I'm going to give you a great example. We're talking about sexually oriented businesses. Has anybody here heard of Lance Gilman? The guy bought billions of dollars worth of property out on USA Parkway. You know who's out there now? Hardy, Tesla, Panasonic, Google, Apple. The list goes on and on. And you know what's right down the street? In fact, you have to pass it to get there until they built the new freeway in there. What's the whorehouse called out there? What's it called? What? Wild Horse? Right on the way. Now, that was zoned a long time ago for whorehouses out there. Mustang's been there for years, been in the news. Now we have an industrial park, and you guys said in the beginning of the meeting that you're worried about perceptions of and having, you know, more family friendly. These companies that moved out there don't seem to care about a whorehouse right down the street. I mean, right there. You have to pass by it to go to the business park. Nobody's worried about that. All these huge corporations are not worried about that, but you're worried about a bar and a strip club right next to casinos. How do you do that? I don't understand. And nobody's making the whorehouse out there move, and the warehouses out there, and all the businesses that have moved there and are continuing to move there and continuing to buy property. I mean, have you been out there? How can it be that a perception of a sexually oriented business, whether it be a prostitution place, a cabaret bar, how does it change if the girls are fully nude and don't drink alcohol or drink alcohol or can't drink? How does the perception of a nightclub that allows nude dancing to whatever degree, how does the perception change? It doesn't change anything. Just like the whorehouse, a couple of blocks from businesses that are locating like crazy out on USA Parkway. Nobody cares. But you guys do for some reason.
Can we just have, a couple more? I think it's almost 7:30.
Sorry, I'm short.
Okay,
like,
so just do 1, 2, and then
my boots all a little bit of heel though.
and then that's it.
Thank you. I guess my question would go towards the gentleman, I believe is an attorney, in regards to the constitutionality being invalid. And to my appearance and what I know of con law validly, it seems to be pretty in line with the Constitution, as well as meeting the prongs of which is required by the court. So I would just be interested to see any research you are or can provide in validating that. Thank you. And then in regards to, I believe the manager, sorry, sir, I forgot your name, but I thank you for being able to adapt to kind of what we would require our children to read on the billboard. And my niece is learning to read, and she's reading compound words, and she read topless, which I was like, yay, you compound word. But then I had to explain what topless was. So that made it kind of a quandary. But I do appreciate that, and I hope in the future that, yeah, if you could fix some of that stuff, we would, because there are children all around that area, and I believe, I mean, I think they made the parade come down Virginia Street. I'm sorry, I'm not good with my local directions, but there's a lot of children that view that sign, and that sign is very in your face, so. Okay.
Hang on, Kesha. Yeah, and
No,
Kesha, if you wouldn't mind looking at us.
Oh,
Not to-
sorry.
sorry, I don't want you to, I feel
Okay.
like you're kind of,
Thank you. I just appreciate your cooperation and working with us in the future. So that's geared more towards him, but thank you.
thank you. What's your name?
My name's Amber.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say that I think that taking away drinking is a horrible idea. They're going to drink outside of the club, and they're going to be able to drink more. They're going to be able to drink more cheaply, so they're going to consume more alcohol, and that's not cleaning up the streets. It's not making our community better.
Thank you. All right, last commenter.
Finish about that young kid that got raped.
And please speak up too so everyone
the
can
kid
hear
who
you.
got raped, he actually hung himself. Why? Because he was HIV positive. 2 years later, and his friend almost killed himself. That's why we should not have full nudity.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. There's comment paper forms up here. The PowerPoints and the ordinances are up front, to my knowledge, and you can send us your comments. On the last pages are contact information. Thank you for coming.
And thank you for everybody being so respectful of everybody else. I think this went a lot better this year when everyone had a chance to speak.
It's wonderful. And it's a joy to make these quilts, and you cannot get away from that airport without a hug from almost every single serviceman because they are so thrilled and so honored. So I really, really recommend if there's any way you can get involved, to get involved because it's such a worthwhile thing.
To clarify what a presentation is for these veterans, when they come down and we show them the quilt folded with their name on and their service and what war they were in, it's a very touching moment for them. We then open the quilt up so that they can see the quilt first. Then we literally wrap them in the quilt. We wrap the veteran in the quilt, and then we give him his quilty hug, and that's when we both break down. But one of the fun things that has happened is not one, but 2 different veterans on 2 different flights said, "Man, that honor flight was the greatest thing. It was the cake and the icing. But this quilt is the cake, the icing, the sprinkles, and the champagne." I thought that really said it very nicely. You can get a hold of us at Comstock Load Quilters, Post Office Box 1065, Dayton, Nevada 89403. My phone number is 775-742-8466.